Today we are diving into Weston A. Price Dietary Principle number 5 from the Wise Traditions Dietary Principles. This one might just be one of my favorites. Might not be the top one, but it's pretty close. It's one of the first ones that I started implementing, and it's super easy to do no matter where you're at in your wellness journey. If you are new here, first of all, welcome. My name is Amanda Willis. I empower families to wellness authentically through biblically rooted principles, and I'm so glad you are here today and joining us on this channel. We are right in the middle of a series that we are doing, interspersed throughout some other videos, going through the 11 dietary principles from the Weston A. Price Foundation. Now, the great news is you can listen to this video. You don't have to go back to the first video yet. You can listen to them in whatever order that you want, but I am putting them all in a playlist for you to make it super easy and simple to get them all. All right. Without further ado, let's dive on in, you guys. Dietary principle number 5. Enjoy lacto-fermented condiments and beverages. Primitive and traditional diets contain a high content of food enzymes and beneficial bacteria from lacto-fermented vegetables, fruits, beverages, dairy products, meats, and condiments. Friend, this is why I don't take a probiotic every day. And if you've been around here for a while, you know I'm a huge fan of really good quality supplements. I think they're important in our world today. However, if you are being super intentional about your dietary choices, then there's certain things that you really can skip. Now, I keep probiotics on hand for those acute times when we need just a little bit extra. However, on the day-to-day, we are getting them through our lacto-fermented foods and beverages. Now, what are those, right? Like, okay, lacto-fermented, what does that mean in today's world? So you're using a process of fermentation where lactic acid is developing. So this is things like sauerkraut, kimchi. We're talking traditionally cured salamis, raw cheeses that have been made through an aged process. You do have to look at the enzymes and know the process, because a lot of cheeses are shortcutted these days. If it says vegetarian enzymes, just cut it out of there. That's not using the same process. But if you are culturing your own mozzarella and it takes a few days, those kind of things, that is your authentic lacto-fermentation. So even yogurt can be done that way. Kefir, there's certain beverages like kombucha that can be very beneficial, and they use that lacto-fermented fermentation process. Now, what that does, as I kind of mentioned a little bit here, is it gives you not only the beneficial probiotic bacteria, but it's really helping with the enzymes as well. And our bodies are super depleted in enzymes. They need enzymes for every function, literally. And our food, most of it's dead that we're getting, right? Like today, our food from the soil, it's coming from dead dirt. It's not from great soil. It's been transported across who knows how many states or countries in order to get to us. And it often is picked before it's ripe. So it doesn't have all of its enzymes that it is supposed to have, that God created it to have, and then to supply our body with. So any way that we can add those things, even doing like vinegars. You guys, what I said about it being cheap is if you buy a head of cabbage, even today with inflationary prices, most heads of cabbage, depending on the size, you're going to get for under $2. You can make a whole lot of sauerkraut with that and some salt. Really good salt. You can't do it with iodized salt. You're going to need to use like a Redmond's real salt or pink Himalayan salt or Celtic sea salt. Something like that has all of its minerals in it and all the enzymatic activity without it having been like bleached and processed and all the other things that your standard table salt and yes, even standard sea salt has, the process has been through. So you want to make sure you use a good salt, but you can do that for super cheap. We make a lot of our own vinegar, or you can buy raw apple cider vinegar, or you can make it for pennies on a dollar. Like, I don't even know if I'd say pennies, like that it costs you. I keep all the scraps from our crab apples that grow off the tree in our backyard. I make cider with them, and then I keep those scraps and I turn them into vinegar. Literally have 3 jars sitting over here on the side fermenting right now. And then we're going to use that scrap vinegar just like you would use the raw apple cider vinegar from the store. You can do that with any fruits. So doing the process yourself makes it super inexpensive. But if you have more money and less time, you can buy a lot of these things done. Now, you want to look for raw. You want to make sure it's not pasteurized. If it's pasteurized, then it has completely taken those enzymes and probiotic bacteria away. So you don't want that. Now, it's also traditionally in a lot of cultures. I'm going to read you one paragraph that was in here because this I really loved. It's true when you think about um, even just like a good French dinner or something like that, you'll notice that oftentimes these fermented foods are paired with something that's really rich and maybe extra fatty to help with that digestion, and they balance each other really well. So, typically, lacto-fermented foods and beverages are consumed with rich cooked foods. A glass of sour kombucha is delicious with a slice of quiche, and pickled gherkins go perfectly with pate. They really do. Sour fermented foods help with digestion of fatty foods and also provide enzymes to make up for the enzymes lost in cooking. So you've heard there's been a lot of buzz around like raw food diets, and that's because of all the enzymes. And when you cook them, it kills the enzymes. Yes, but some foods actually need to be cooked in order to kill the anti-nutrients. So that's a whole different story. But when you ferment, that gives you those enzymes then that you can pair with them. The final sentence in this paragraph says, in fact, think of lacto-fermented foods as super raw foods that more than compensate for any enzymes lost in cooked food. And it's so true. So even you don't have to do a lot of these. I feel like so often when we're trying to introduce things, we think like, oh, we have to do an entire plate of something or a huge glass. It's got to be my only drink that I have with my meal. And the reality is you can do just a little bit of sauerkraut on top of something. Try making a fermented ketchup and use a fermented ketchup in place of the store-bought ketchups that have lots of additives and extra sweeteners and things in them. It's actually super easy to do. You can ferment your salsa so that you have some salsa and some chips. It doesn't have to be some like really weird thing. You can make it fit into your diet that you're already eating and make those easy swaps. That's why I said this was honestly one of the first things that I did. I started adding some kombucha. Careful with a lot of the store-bought kombuchas just because they tend to be really heavy on extra sweeteners. Um, it's super easy to make. It's on my list for this year. I haven't gotten to it because it's easy, but we're doing a lot of things. And the skills, I want to encourage you, friend, that as you're working into some of these dietary principles, there are new kitchen skills that come up and that you are learning. And if you've ever been along any journey of learning new skills, we are working on building our homestead, and each new skill, it takes a lot of brain power when you're learning it, right? But that's not the amount of brain power it's going to take forever. Like it took me a lot to figure out how to get just a very easy, simple sourdough artisan bread that I don't have to think about. Now I do it in the middle of everything else. And 9 times out of 10, it's not even going on my task list because it's just a part of my rhythm and it doesn't take any brain power. I can do it while I'm doing other tasks. So I want to encourage you with those things. Sauerkraut can be really fast. You don't have to sit there and pound it forever. You can take your cabbage, put it in a bowl with your salt, massage it in, walk away put a lid over it, let it sit for like an hour, come back. It will have already extracted those juices that you can then put in a jar and cover that way for it to ferment. It can be really simple and easy part of your daily routine, but it also doesn't have to be daily. I'm not fermenting stuff every day. We are consuming fermented things every day, but it doesn't, because they last for a long time. It really stretches the amount of work that you put in can take you a long way. So tell me down in the comments. I'm super curious. Are you already consuming some of these lacto-fermented foods? If so, what are your favorites? If not, what's held you up? What's maybe been a hurdle? Do you think you have to have a huge amount of something over just like, here's a forkful to start? Because there are so many little enzymes and bacteria in just one little bite of sauerkraut. You could start with that. But maybe it's the ketchup. Maybe it's something else. Let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear, friend. And until next time, take care. Cheers.